The glass shattered before Ethan Park understood that the bullet had been meant for his head. He dropped behind the marble desk as a second shot tore through the penthouse window. His bodyguard, Marcus Lee, rushed toward him, but the lights suddenly went out. "Boss, we have to move," Marcus shouted. Ethan reached for his phone. No signal. He grabbed the emergency pistol beneath the desk, but before he could rise, Marcus's voice changed. "I'm sorry." Ethan froze. The gun pressed against the back of his neck. For 12 years, Marcus had stood beside him through ambushes, gang wars, and police raids. Now his most trusted protector was trembling behind him. "Who bought you?" Ethan asked. Marcus swallowed. Daniel Choi. The name struck harder than the bullet. Daniel was not merely Ethan's second-in-command. He was the man Ethan called brother. Before Marcus could pull the trigger, Ethan drove his elbow backward. The gun fired into the ceiling. They crashed against the desk, fighting in darkness. Ethan struck Marcus twice, seized the weapon, and ran toward the private elevator. It would not open. The security system no longer recognized him. His own home had locked him out. Ethan forced open the service stairwell and raced down 40 floors while alarms screamed through the building. By the time he reached the underground garage, every car connected to his name had been remotely disabled. Then his wife stepped from the shadows. Vanessa Park wore a white coat and held 2 suitcases. She did not look frightened. She looked prepared. "You knew," Ethan said. Vanessa avoided his eyes. "Daniel promised me protection." Ethan stared at her. "Protection from whom?" "From you, after everything collapsed." A bitter laugh escaped him. "You helped him." "I protected myself." Footsteps thundered above them. Vanessa moved toward a waiting car. Ethan caught her wrist. 10 years, he said. "Was any of it real?" Her eyes remained cold. "It was real while you were powerful." She pulled free and entered the car. It disappeared through the garage exit without slowing. Ethan stood there for one stunned second before bullets struck the pillar beside him. He ran. By sunrise, every account bearing his name had been frozen. His clubs had been seized, his businesses placed under investigation, and his men had either vanished or pledged loyalty to Daniel. News stations showed Ethan's photograph beneath the words "fugitive crime boss." 3 days later, the man who once controlled 50 armed men was bleeding behind a closed market stall with only a few crumpled notes in his pocket. He had not eaten since the previous morning. He moved through the narrow Seoul streets with his head lowered, avoiding cameras and patrol cars. Rain soaked his torn black shirt. His left arm burned where a bullet had grazed him during another escape. Every face looked suspicious. Every passing vehicle sounded like death. Then the smell of grilled meat stopped him. A small food stall glowed beneath 2 lanterns at the edge of the night market. Behind the counter stood a black woman with short natural hair, steady brown eyes, and an apron tied over a dark green dress. She looked up. For one terrifying moment, Ethan thought she recognized him. Then she simply asked, "Are you going to stand in the rain all night, or are you going to sit?" "I don't have enough money." "You haven't seen the price." "I know what I have." She studied the blood on his sleeve but did not ask questions. "Sit." Ethan remained still. "I said sit," she repeated. "You look like you're about to collapse, and I don't want a dead man frightening my customers." Against every instinct he sat. She placed rice, broth, and 2 skewers before him. "I didn't order this." "You ordered the cheapest thing." "That is the cheapest thing." He ate too quickly. She pretended not to notice. When the bowl was empty, she added more rice. "I can't pay for that. It would be thrown away." They both knew she was lying. If this story has already pulled you in, like the video and subscribe, because Ethan's fall was only the beginning. The woman placed a first aid box beside him. "What is your name?" Ethan asked. "Amara Johnson." He cleaned the wound while she watched the market entrance. Then she said quietly, Your enemies came here yesterday. Ethan's hand stopped. Amara finally looked directly into his eyes. And they showed me your photograph. He reached for the gun hidden beneath his shirt. She did not flinch. If I wanted to betray you, she said, you would already be dead. Ethan stared at her, unable to breathe. Amara leaned closer. You don't remember me, she whispered. But 7 years ago, when everyone else walked past me in the rain, you were the only man who turned back. Ethan's fingers slowly moved away from the pistol beneath his shirt. He searched Amara's face for fear, anger, or even triumph. He found none. You've mistaken me for someone else, he said quietly. Amara smiled, but it was the smile of someone who had already expected the denial. No, she replied. I've remembered you for 7 years. I could never mistake the man who changed my life. Ethan lowered his eyes. He genuinely could not remember. Amara poured 2 cups of hot tea and placed one in front of him. You don't have to force yourself, she said. Kind people rarely remember every person they help. The words landed harder than any punch. Kind. No one had called Ethan that in years. He had been called ruthless, dangerous, untouchable, never kind. 7 years earlier, he had still been climbing toward the top of Korea's underworld. Every day had been filled with meetings, negotiations, and enemies. If he had helped someone, it had disappeared beneath thousands of other memories. Amara reached beneath the counter and removed an old leather wallet. Inside was a faded receipt. Folded carefully behind it was a worn business card. She handed it to him. Ethan stared. The card carried the logo of one of his legitimate companies, a company that no longer existed. I kept it, she said softly. You kept this. It reminded me that one stranger believed I deserved another chance. A silence settled between them. Finally, Ethan spoke. What happened? Amara folded her hands. I arrived in Korea with a scholarship. 6 months later the scholarship ended. I worked 2 jobs just to survive. She laughed quietly. My landlord decided that surviving wasn't enough. Ethan listened. He threw my belongings into the rain because I couldn't produce another guarantor. She paused. I thought my life in Korea was over. Ethan could almost picture it. Rain. Dark streets. A frightened young woman with nowhere to go. I remember stopping, he murmured. You asked only one question. What was it? Do you still want to fight for your future? Something stirred inside Ethan. Fragments. Rain splashing against the sidewalk. A frightened face. A phone call. Cash. A rented room. He closed his eyes. I remember now. Amara nodded. You paid 1 month's rent. You told the property manager to leave me alone. Then you walked away before I could even thank you. Ethan shook his head. It wasn't much. It was everything. Those 3 words echoed through him. Everything. The empire he had spent 15 years building had disappeared in a single night. Yet one small decision he had barely remembered had survived 7 years. Amara stood. You should get some sleep. I can't stay. You can. My enemies will come. They probably will. You don't understand who they are. She looked directly at him. No. She smiled gently. I understand who you are. Before Ethan could answer, 3 black SUVs rolled slowly into the market. Every conversation stopped. The engines idled. 4 men stepped out wearing expensive black suits. Ethan's heartbeat accelerated. Daniel's men. Without looking at him, Amara whispered, Kitchen. There isn't enough time. There is if you stop arguing. She picked up a pot of boiling soup as though preparing dinner. Ethan slipped behind the curtain separating the kitchen from the dining area. The leader approached the counter. We're looking for someone. Amara continued stirring. I sell food. He placed Ethan's photograph on the counter. Have you seen him? She glanced at the picture for less than a second. No. He could be hiding here. She shrugged. Then your investigation should be easy. The man narrowed his eyes. Mind if we search? My customers usually ask before entering my kitchen. One of the gangsters stepped forward anyway. Amara suddenly slammed the heavy soup pot onto the stove. The loud crash echoed across the market. Every nearby vendor turned toward them. So, she said loudly, for healthy men want to search the kitchen of a woman working alone? People began watching. Whispers spread. The gang leader looked around. Attention was the last thing they wanted. He forced a smile. Just doing our job. Then do it somewhere else. He picked up Ethan's photograph. If you see him, call this number. I'll think about it. The SUVs pulled away. Only after they disappeared did Ethan emerge. You lied for me. I did. They'll come back. They might. You don't even know me. Amara met his eyes. I know enough. Ethan looked toward the street where the vehicles had vanished. They won't stop. Neither will you. He laughed once. It surprised both of them. She reached beneath the counter and handed him an apron. What is this? You owe me for dinner. I paid. No. She smiled. You paid part of it. He looked at the apron. I haven't had a real job since I was 19. Good. She pointed towards several heavy supply boxes. Tomorrow morning you'll remember what honest work feels like. For the first time since losing everything, Ethan felt something unfamiliar. Not confidence. Not power. Hope. He quietly tied the apron around his waist. Neither of them noticed the motorcycle parked across the street. The rider lowered a camera. He had just taken 3 clear photographs of Ethan working inside Amara's food stall. Minutes later, those photographs were speeding toward Daniel Choi. The hunt had just entered a far more dangerous chapter. Before the next twist changes everything, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling us, if you lost everything overnight, would you trust a complete stranger? The answer may surprise you before this story ends. Daniel Choi stared at the photographs on his phone until the screen went dark. Ethan Park was alive. Not only alive. Working at a food stall. Daniel enlarged the final photograph. Ethan wore an apron, his sleeves rolled up, while Amara stood beside him. A slow smile crossed Daniel's face. So that is where the fallen king is hiding. He turned to Marcus Lee, whose bruised face still carried the marks Ethan had left in the penthouse. Take 10 men, Daniel ordered. Bring Ethan to me alive. And the woman? Daniel's expression hardened. Anyone protecting him has chosen a side. Across the city, Ethan woke before sunrise and carried supply boxes into Amara's stall. His injured arm ached, but he said nothing. Amara noticed anyway. You're holding that box like it insulted your family. I'm fine. That is what stubborn men say before collapsing. She took the box from him. Ethan almost protested, but the sound of approaching motorcycles stopped him. 6 motorcycles entered the market from one side. 2 black SUVs blocked the other. Ethan's face changed instantly. Get everyone inside, he said. Amara looked toward the armed men stepping from the vehicles. How many? Too many. She moved quickly, warning the nearby vendors. Mr. Han pulled Jay into the vegetable shop while Mina called the police. Marcus walked forward with 10 men behind him. Boss, he called. Daniel wants to talk. Ethan stepped from behind the counter. You tried to shoot me. Marcus looked ashamed for half a second. Daniel gave me no choice. There is always a choice. Marcus raised his gun. Amara stepped in front of Ethan. The entire market fell silent. Move, Marcus warned. No. Amara, Ethan said quietly. Get behind me. She did not move. Marcus pointed the weapon directly at her chest. You don't know what kind of man you're protecting. Amara's voice remained steady. I know exactly what kind of man he was when I had nothing. Ethan felt something break open inside him. Marcus's finger tightened on the trigger. Then a truck crashed through the wooden barrier at the far end of the market. Gabriel Johnson jumped from the driver's seat with Lucas Kim beside him. Everyone down, Lucas shouted. Smoke canisters rolled across the ground. Chaos exploded. Ethan pulled Amara behind the stall as gunshots tore through the lanterns. Glass shattered. Customers screamed. Ethan grabbed a metal rod and rushed Marcus before he could aim again. They crashed against a table. Marcus struck Ethan's ribs. Ethan stumbled, but Amara hurled a bowl of hot broth into Marcus's face. He screamed and dropped the gun. Ethan seized it. Within minutes, Daniel's men were surrounded by police officers responding to Mina's call and armed security Gabriel had brought from his company. Lucas dragged Marcus to his knees. It's over, Lucas said. Marcus laughed bitterly. You think Daniel came here himself? He is already leaving the country. Ethan aimed the gun at Marcus. Where? Marcus remained silent. Lucas pulled a flash drive from his pocket. He will not get far. Ethan stared at it. Lucas explained that Daniel's accountant had contacted him 2 days earlier. The drive contained bank transfers, recorded conversations, and proof that Daniel had fabricated the evidence used to freeze Ethan's accounts. There is enough here to destroy him, Lucas said. Ethan looked at the damaged market around him. Tables overturned. Lanterns broken. Amara's stall scarred by bullets. His old world had followed him here and nearly destroyed the only honest thing he had found. We release everything, Ethan said. Everything? Lucas asked. Every transaction. Every name. Including mine. Lucas stared at him. You could go to prison. I built that empire. I will not pretend I was innocent just because Daniel betrayed me. Amara looked at Ethan with quiet pride. By evening, the evidence reached prosecutors and 3 major news stations. Daniel was arrested at Incheon Airport before boarding a private jet. His hidden accounts were seized. His men began turning against him. Marcus agreed to testify in exchange for protection. Vanessa called Ethan repeatedly. He ignored her until she arrived at the market 2 days later. She stepped carefully around the repaired tables, wearing dark glasses and an expensive coat. Ethan, she whispered. We need to talk. Amara continued preparing food behind the counter. Ethan faced his former wife. You abandoned me. I was afraid. You helped Daniel. I made a mistake. Vanessa reached for his hand. We can rebuild everything. Ethan stepped back. There is no we. Her eyes filled with tears. You're choosing this place over your entire life? Ethan looked at Amara, at Jay repairing a lantern, at Mr. Han drinking tea, and at Mina laughing with Gabriel. No, he said. I'm choosing my life for the first time. Vanessa left without another word. Months later, Ethan pleaded guilty to financial crimes connected to his former businesses. Because he cooperated fully and helped dismantle Daniel's organization, he received a reduced sentence and served part of it under strict supervision. When he returned to the market, every lantern was burning. Amara stood beneath them. I thought you might have changed your mind, Ethan said. I waited 7 years to repay one act of kindness. She smiled. A few months was easy. Ethan moved closer. I have nothing left to offer you. That isn't true. What do I have? Your word. Your hands. Your mornings. She placed an apron against his chest. And several unpaid supply bills. He laughed. Then he gently touched her face. Can I stay? Amara looked into his eyes. You never really left. He kissed her beneath the lanterns while the market erupted in applause. 1 year later, Their food stall had become a small restaurant that employed struggling immigrants, former prisoners, and young people with nowhere else to go. Ethan had once commanded 50 men through fear. Now people followed him because he helped them stand again. And every time someone asked how Korea's most feared mafia boss had survived losing everything, Ethan gave the same answer. One woman remembered the man I had forgotten I could be. If this story touched your heart, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more emotional stories. Comment below. Do you believe one forgotten act of kindness can return when you need it most?